Greetings ladies and gents, welcome back to the Craft Hammer. I'm your host Stefan, and in today's video it is actually a part 2 continuation. I would have released a video for the Custodes Army Showcase, my coming back to the hobby after a few months break, and also the prep for my first ever tournament, which was 1,000 points. You would have seen the full roster that I currently have built and painted, except for the jet bike, which I actually did manage to get painted before the tournament. So if you're interested in that, do make sure to check out that video. It'll give you a lot more context. What we're going to do here today, this is the list that I took to the 1,000 point tournament, and I will give you the rundown and my thoughts. It's possible that I won't be going with Custodes for my next tournament. I do want to use the fact that I will be going to a tournament in October as a motivation to continue painting more models, and I think that next time I might in fact take the Chaos Knights that I have. They're built, they're primed, they have base coats on them, so I think that most likely that's what I'll be doing. I'll figure that out and see how much work it would take, but I think I could probably do it. So let me give you a quick rundown. Straight enough forward, we have a shield host, and we have 2 custodian guards, which spears. We have Trajan Valorous that joined one of the squads, and we have a 5-man squad of Sagittarian custodians, and we have the shield captain on Dawn Eagle jet bike, and I gave him from the Hall of the Armories. That is the one that gives you a strength and a damage characteristic to the bearer's melee weapons. For those of you who might have tried to guess in the previous video, 3 rounds, I managed to win the first one, very surprising. I managed to lose the next 2. Both of them were very close, and I actually think there was a high chance that I could have won the last 2. Although, of course, if I had won, there would have been different pairings, but there's a high possibility that I could have, with better play, won the last 2 games. Let's get into the first match. So I'll try and keep it simple enough. I fought Astra Militarum, Death Corps Heavy with a Gaunt's Ghost, Ursula Creed leading a platoon command, and also I believe Cadian troops, shock troops, Death Corps Marshals leading Death Corps of Krieg squads, and then 2 Lehman Russ battle tanks with, let me see here, the battle cannon on both of them. So I was extremely worried that I did see a number of Astra Militarum players bringing tanks. There's no specific shooting here that I actually thought, oh, I need shooting for tanks, which is where the thing surprised me. Everything went somewhat decent in the first round, or like in the first game that I had. The 2 guard squads, they managed to go and melee attack, so they went in and charged and actually destroyed both of the tanks, which was very surprising to me. I know they're obviously good in combat. I always had this idea that the custodian guards were, or like the guardians with spears, they were elite killers. I didn't actually think they could also take on vehicles, but they did manage to take on the vehicles. So the Sagittarian were actually useful throughout the games because they were always at the back, touching the objective at the back in my home field, and they were always able to shoot every round, plink off wounds, or even heavily damage some squads. So they were consistent, and in the second round, which I'll get into, they actually were probably MVPs as they tied up a squad of Terminators for, I'd say 3 rounds nearly in melee combat, which was not I obviously didn't want them to be in melee combat, but they did deep strike super close and then charged. The one thing is the captain himself on the jet bike. He was okay in the first round. He did manage to take a few wounds off, but again, nothing of significance. He kind of pushed back a Death Corps of Krieg squad from the left hand when you're looking for me, and there was an objective there, so he managed to push them back and kind of keep that objective away from them being able to score. It wasn't as killy as I was hoping. Now, I'm assuming if I put him into an elite squad, he would have been able to, do a bit more damage. But the fact that the guard squad had, I think it was 20 in the squad itself with a medic, every time he did damage, yeah, they had to move back and they fled, but they weren't really, there was nothing there. They were pretty much back to full strength after the medic was doing his business. The other thing that kind of stood out was, of course, the Guardian Spears, shooting twice. Super helpful. I love doing that. I always make sure that if they're in peril, in a sense, that like there's a lot of firepower going to be shooting at them in the next turn or something, that I'm just gonna take my chance and pop it as soon as possible. Now, the second battle round was a bit more difficult. So they had an apothecary, lieutenant with combi weapon. That lieutenant did not do that well for them. They were actually very quickly to disappear. A tech marine that was following up a repulsor executioner, 2 intercessor squads, an eradicator squad, and a hellblaster squad, and a terminator squad. This is where my placement of my models was slightly the problem. I had put my captain on the right hand side, which would have been fine, but they had only put an intercessor squad in their location at the back. So although I was able to jump and did get an objective, so technically he did score, he didn't do much after that, because from the center board I was able to slightly tilt or slightly move to the right with Trajan and his squad, and I was able to wipe 2 intercessor squads, which was kind of the only big threat in that location. At first, my plan was to jump with a jet bike, get the objective, and then get to the intercessor squad, but it really made no more sense. So I was like, okay, let me pivot back, because in the second round, the Terminators landed in my back line, gunning for the Sagittarium and also that objective that I was holding. So I was like, okay, I need to pivot back. And by the time he got close, and the repulsor executioner, which was on the opposite side of the board, managed to get a perfect line into him, and he was pretty much mincemeat. So apart from getting those victory points by getting the objective, he did not do anything, which is a big pity. The Sagittarium, once they were in combat after like round 2 or whatever it was, they locked down those Terminators until the very end. I think the Sagittarium was in fact the last model that was left for me on the board at the end. My guard squad with Trajan was able to wipe out the intercessors and both squads, and also charge through and kill off his apothecary for assassinate, which really helped getting me extra points. My Sagittarium, before they were in combat, also managed to get rid of the Hellblasters, which of course they were doing a lot of damage. This squad, which was unfortunate that they were the ones right in front of the executioner, they did actually manage to do a lot of damage, because I'm charged into the executioner, and this is where, yeah, it's surprising that they can actually do that much damage. I think he was on 4 wounds left before he wiped out the squad itself. I believe it was because he was able to shoot into the combat with the tank itself. So it was just so many guns that were shooting in, and 2 had already been picked off from the previous round of shooting. Definitely closer than I expected, which is, it was like I was winning at the start for so long, and then it's one of those things where the Custodes hit really hard and are able to do their objectives decently well enough. Over time, wounds get clinked off, and then it's just steam has run out. I'm in perfect firing lines for the enemy if they still have some decent shootings, and they did. And yeah, that's kind of where it ran out for me, which was unfortunate. Yeah, the points technically were not close anymore. Once I ran out of steam, they were able to jump on certain objectives after they kind of cleared me out. So very fun game, definitely learned quite a bit, had to use the Custodes. Yeah, let's move into the third game that I did, which was against another guard player. The list here will be much easier to figure out. So Death Corps and Marshal, Tanky Commander, Cadian Shock Troops, Krieg, Hellhound, Rogel Dorn, Scout Sentinel, and 2 Tempestus 5-man Scions. Cadians were quickly dispatched. They were just positioned in the wrong place, and they were going for an objective right where I was going for another objective with my guard squad, so they were never going to survive. They were like pretty much just cannon fodder. The Shui guys, they did okay. There wasn't that many good lines of fire, but I did manage to plink off a few wounds of the Rogel Dorn. Now the Rogel Dorn is the thing that changed the game, because I did manage to get on a number of objectives. Captain here, he got on the left objective, destroyed a Scout Sentinel in 1 round of combat, which was great, and he got that objective. But then, because of the Rogel Dorn that was able to spot him, he got destroyed, and that was him done after, I believe, round 2 was when it actually happened. Trajan and his squad went for the center objective. He managed to wipe out a number of things. The Death Court of Krieg were severely damaged. The Rogel Dorn did come around the terrain, and that's when things kind of went down. The Rogel Dorn took out pretty much the entire guard squad over time. I did eventually manage to get into close combat with Trajan and finish off the tank, but by then the damage was already done. The other side, or on my right side, the tank commander had a perfect tank shock that completely finished off the last remaining guards, or like the last remaining custodian guards that were on that objective. The Tempestus Scions, he kind of forgot about them, which I also did, and I think they only came in round 3 or 4 to harass the Sagittarium at the back. Points wise, being able to move around, I was actually doing really well, and it was just unfortunate that the Rogel Dorn was able to turn and he was actually stuck behind a lot of terrain for quite a bit, but eventually he managed to get around the corner, clear Trajan, clear the guard squad, and then Trajan was really low, destroyed the tank, but then of course he wasn't able to survive after that for much longer, and then the tank commander finishing off the Guardian Spears. Overall, I learned that although the jet bike has a lot of movement, not much survivability, and when it comes to heavy hitters like the Rogel Dorn, he gets shot pretty quickly, so I might not bring him next time. Of course, what will happen is in October is the next 1000 points, and what I'm actually hoping to do, I won't bring Custodes again. Well, I might, it will depend. What I want to do is bring Chaos Knights. I do have 6 of the Armiger small ones. I believe that will get me up close enough to 1000 points, I think like 900 and something. The one thing is though, I would like to always bring a painted army. Now, the Knights are base painted, and so they're primed and a few base paints, but there's a lot of things that need to be done. What I'll do is I'm gonna check the actual list, make sure that I'm only painting the weapons that are on the list, because I don't want to paint all the different options, not at this moment anyway. So let me check back in with you. We'll do a hobby update for the actual knights themselves. Next week what I want to do is create a review for the Imperial Agents, so that will be for the Codex, and then I'll also do a second video for the Army Showcase, and then I'll do a hobby update for the Chaos Knights, and then another quick hobby update before the actual tournament, and then I'll again do a tournament similar to this video, except I won't do like an army showcase for the knights yet because the main 2 big knights are not painted, so we'll just do a mini showcase of the armigers if they're painted before October 13th, do a tournament video and a recap similar to this. If not, I will try and do a different list for Custodes. I do have the Terminators, which I might try and do, and maybe I'll try the Blade Champion again. We'll see. There's nothing is set in stone, apart from the fact that every tournament I would like to have a fully painted army. I don't want to go to a tournament without a fully painted army. More that I just wanted myself to have a cool time and be like, oh look, this is my force, and I want my opponent to also be like, oh cool, I'm playing against a fully painted army, it looks great, and yeah, really thematic type of thing. That's what's set in stone. So if Chaos Knights are not painted, I will do another Custodes list, and then in November I will will make sure to have the knights ready. So if you have any comments, leave them down below. Give me your thoughts on this force and what I could have done better. I know the Custodian Wardens have some great plays with their durability. It's just a unit that when I was collecting, it didn't really appeal that much. Maybe in the future I might get a squad just to kind of finish off this this army. That's a big maybe, because I do plan to get a tank from Forge World, maybe around Christmas, we'll see. And I would like to get a squad of Aquilon Terminators, and then the maybes after that, maybe a squad or two of the Venatari. We'll see, nothing set in stone there. Again, as I said, the Galatis Dreadnought, which is the one with the sword and the shield. So give me your comments down below, give me some ideas. It's only 1,000 points that I'm doing all the tournaments. Eventually I will get to 2,000 points. I'm just not completely set on that right now, just because things are extremely busy coming up to Christmas and so many things to do. I don't want to also have to prepare for a second tournament per month. So that is all I have for today. Give me a like if you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe. We're going to try and get back into Warhammer, and we'll be releasing a few more videos, a few more army showcases of what I have. I do have the Marines, of course, and I have quite a bit painted, so I'll try and show you what I have painted, and then maybe I'll do a hobby update on the things that are currently on the painting block. And then of course, maybe we'll talk about the backlog, maybe not, doesn't really matter. What only matters is what you're painting in the moment. And yeah, make sure to sit down, folks, and get your stuff painted. It looks so cool when you're playing on a tournament and your things are painted, so make sure to sit down and do it. And yeah, let's wait until next video, we'll see. And yeah, until next time, take care, folks.